got got the old phone out. No cracked screen, put a protective thing over it. As you can see, I'm not wearing anything DC. I know this is like DC Vigilante, but it's also where I tend to make videos just in what I'm thinking, like a blog. And one time I made a video about sex, put that as adult only. Normally I do this sort of stuff maybe on Facebook, but I thought no, it's something I like to talk about just now. It's also a way to get to know me. So as you probably know, if you've been following me for a while, I'm more or less an atheist, to be honest. Right? And I went to Sunday school. I got married in a church. I love the musical Jesus Christ Superstar. I did religious education when I was in secondary school. And I've got time to listen to other people's ideas and religion ways and stuff like that. And I respect you if you've got a religion and everything else. I'm not here to poo-poo your beliefs, And the one thing that annoys me sometimes is when I watch these programs. Like there was one program, and it was like, it's one of those programs where you sort of switch partners or something, or move into a house that's totally opposite from you and stuff. One episode it was like an atheist goes and lives with a Christian and everything else. But most of the time when I watch these things, the atheist has no clue or no idea why he doesn't support, the idea of God and stuff like that. And I'm there with my book. Why, And it was an American couple and stuff like that. And America and other places around the world, it's kind of, well, America especially is very Christian, right? Christians and stuff. And I've heard reports of people getting bullied because they don't believe, so it's the States and, there's places, very religious countries all around the world have their thing. Britain, I like to think, is a wee bit more neutral, a wee bit more friendly to the idea of being, or British people, shall I say, are more open to, accept everybody's belief, whether you're non-believer or whatnot. So why am I making this video just now? Well, on Netflix just now, there's an interesting show. I've listened to a lot of people. I listen to, see, when it comes to religion, right? I've watched them all, right? The Ten Commandments and everything, especially on the Christian side of things. And the Muslim faith will try to say it's the same sort of thing. And, it's connected to each other and everything else. And but I like people to question things, because we're all pre-programmed when we're growing up. Some people feel the need to take their kids to Sunday school, or when you explain something, it's more easier to explain to a kid about, when you die, you go to a good place and heaven and everything. So sometimes it's it's like Santa Claus. Sometimes you need that sort of reason to explain things, to make the world seem a better place. And what I hate is when people say that, your life isn't fulfilled because you don't believe. Your life must be empty. Who are these people to say that? Because you don't believe in their vision makes you lesser of a person, or you're not getting that much out of life. For me, the people that don't believe have are even more open-minded to listen to other people's views and everything else. Now, I grew up watching Star Trek, and And I remembered episodes where they would find these Greek gods in space, and they were actually kind of like aliens. And there were episodes where you see the Enterprise going back in time into today's world and whatnot. And of course, by today's standard, that would look like a UFO. So it told of a world where every nation, every country comes together, and they all join for mutual advantage for the future of mankind. And I quite like the idea. Right now, in this world, just now, we seem to be going backwards. We seem to be going backwards and building walls, building bridges and separating. We've had wars and everything else. And I've been watching this, and it's a wee plug for this programme, Ancient Aliens. And it's on Netflix. And as I say, I watch all these things. I keep an open mind. I even listen to David Icke live at Wembley and stuff. I listen to all the conspiracy theories and stuff. And now you're going to think, oh no, he's a conspiracy theory. He's probably going to tell you ghosts are real and aliens are real and everything else and stuff. And, to be honest, with this vast amount of galaxies and space out there, for me, it's more plausible that there would be some sort of planet, same distance away from a sun, out there somewhere. The main thing is, do you think they've been here before? And that's what the programme was talking about. That maybe, and I'm going to try and cut a long story short here, basically everything that's happened in our past, our descriptions of what was happening back then, because of the lack of technology that we have today, may be deemed as godlike. I remember watching the film 300, and the villain in that, he paints himself as a god. I believe he was even a different colour back then, as the leader of the enforcing army against the 300 Roman soldiers. He seemed to be quite... And that, it didn't dawn on me that then you could go that way. That angels could, wings on angels could be something like just a way to describe that these people were capable of flight. That, and there's places on the earth that seems to have suffered things that can only be described as, it's not that sort of technology to do that sort of damage was not around then. And it's plausible for every sort of description in our history to put it down to alien technology. And then we have all the Hitler stuff and the stuff that he was building and the war machines and everything else and sites. Listen, just check it out yourself and watch it. But if you're religious, you're probably going to disagree with it. All I'll say is keep an open mind. You keep an open mind to anybody's views. Would be my thing. And then and who cares if it questions your faith, right? If you want to believe that you're going to go to a nice place or bad place or whatnot, that's fine. My parents passed away, okay, and that's not just because I stopped believing after that. I questioned it always. You question life on a constant basis, and it's not that. And I know when I pass away, if it's a big long sleep, then it's a big long sleep. Maybe I'll appear in some form someplace else. But then again, then that'll be my next adventure. If it's a good long sleep and there's nothing, then that's fine too. So you just live for the moment. Live for the day. You never know when it's going to be taken away from you. And there's also talks about where aliens or angels and whatnot, and they talk about doomsday or hell or the devil. And maybe there was a time when I did believe in evil, but not now. I mean, lots of people talk about, back what we would call, you have the mental asylum, you had the Joker movie and stuff like that, and it's people with some sort of mental illness. that's making people do this. Serial killers, blame it on voices and everything else, and then you think, voices, is that the same thing as guardian angels? So there's and then when you look at the Bible and stuff, and it talks about God asking somebody to kill the brother or anything else, and then you question, where's this coming from? I thought God was meant to be all heavenly and good, and why do angels have weapons? Why do angels have weapons if it's meant to be a good place? And then, so when you talk about the devil, I watch Lucifer, right? And I watch Supernatural and stuff. I watched The Preacher, and it's good that way. It's good storytelling, and I'm not going to be close-minded to watch these things. I even watched the Last Temptation of Christ and the Jesus Christ story. I've watched every incarnation of it and stuff like that. But then I've looked at what was possible back then. What was the inn? The inn was basically the top bit of the house that they used to live in caves in Bethlehem. And the inn was like where they kept the stocks, the animals and stuff. Down below would be where they were eating. So it's all due to interpretation. So if you think back in the days where they talk about gods and Zeus and everything else, Mount Olympus, and all of them can be described as either, connected to some sort of beings with more power. But how would you describe it back then? Today, if they came today, we have more technology to explain who they are. And they talk about Armageddon, the end of the world. Well, maybe that's because the aliens that come and visit us, there's two dividing forces. We've seen it all in sci-fi films. So one alien can be a bit of a dick, and the other one could be an alright guy. And it's them trying to push us towards this sort of, let's say, the Star Trek utopia that I was interested in. But again, this is all theories. But there's a lot of things in this world today that have recently just been discovered that can prove the point. Things that were built millennium ago that we've got no reason, we can't figure out how it was built because we wouldn't have that sort of technology. Then you go on to places like Atlantis, so that's meant to have technology that's further and advanced. How did they get that technology? Oh, it's questions after questions after questions. And so, as I say, so when we talk about, again, going back to hell and everything else, we all live in a world where we talk to ourselves. We have all those little thoughts to ourselves that are that we think that's crazy to think that. That's nuts. Why am I thinking that and everything else? And we're all mixed up people. Men are committing, going through depression, people committing suicide, our loves, our passion for things. You talk about people that can't get the kicks unless they're doing some weird stuff. Our minds in general are all buggered up, right? They're all mixed up the way our minds think. Okay, we cannot follow the straight golden path to righteousness because you've got it, it's brain controlling and stuff. So the more you look into things and see different side of things, there's another thing like the Washington, right? See, when you go to Washington and you see on the buildings, most of the buildings in Washington have got nothing to do with its history. That big sort of spear thing in the middle of Washington, the big long tall pole thing with the arch, what's that got to do? Some people have speculated about that, about how it harnesses energies and everything else, and maybe there is secret societies out there that know all the answers and keeping it, and why would they keep it a secret? Well, you look at Man of Steel, for instance. When a godlike creature comes down to earth, how would we approach this? How would we approach knowing that there are aliens out there, and then how would we think with that to, would that blow our religious ideas out the window? You know, the fact that God would create somebody who's a being as powerful as that. You know, and so maybe it's the best thing for society not to know the full story, and maybe there is. You know, do I believe the president or any figurehead is in charge? Maybe not. You know, maybe it's a select view that you know, and it's, as I say, that's just my view. So whether, for me, it explains why God could be a dick. Okay, because he's because the stuff that he's asked people to do in the past, the floods, Noah's Ark, and you know, the Moses 10 Commandments stories and all that sort of stuff, Cain and Abel, and you know, it's not very ungodlike, but then again, it just could be a normal sort of alien that's got a problem, you know. And again, and it's just waiting for the right time, the aliens and whatnot, the right time to come down and say, okay, you've come to a bit now where we can make ourselves known again to the world and stuff. But again, it's whatever makes you feel good. You know, I just hope out there you keep an open mind and you find facts, you listen to different facts, and you don't just go with the flow like people do with Marvel movies. So yeah, I mean, as I say, going back to it, some people, even though they've just recently been given so much proof from Zack Snyder back on DC again, and Jason Momoa, they're saying that the Snyder Cut doesn't exist, even though you've got people coming out saying that it does. But again, people's minds are, you know, they're programmed. So open those minds, and you'll probably find you'll have a much richer life. Thank you. This has been my proof. DC Vigilante out.